back for Arfield. What a volley! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end. Oh, what a goal! What a goal from Robbie Blake! Burnley's first goal in the Premier League is something very, very special.
Wade Elliott has that change of pace and he's got away from Montgomery. It's the path of McCann and the follow-up finds the net. What a strike from Wade Elliott! A bolt from the Claret and Blue.
Oh goodness me! What a goal from Patterson! If that is to be the one that takes them to Wembley, you cannot argue with that. Pure quality.
Here goes Mike Conroy. Still time for a winner, maybe. John Francis! They came to York in their thousands. They're going home as champions.
I mean, if there's any justice in the world, Burnley would surely score from this corner. Swung right in there. Ball in there. Yeah! Michael Kenilworth! Oh, that's justice! That is justice at the Amex Stadium. Burnley are level and deserve to be.
Hello everyone and welcome along to the latest episode of the TurfCast podcast full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley got back to winning ways, grabbed another 3 points. Obviously we got the draw midweek against Watford, but we bounced back against their rivals, beat Luton down at Kenilworth Road, thanks to an Ashley Barnes penalty. Lads, how we doing? We've got Nathan here from Burnley Mundial. How you doing, mate?
Morning, yeah, not bad, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, good. And Neil, I guess we can start calling you a TurfCast panelist now. You're here pretty much not every week, as I say to people. As I do like to mix it up, but I think you're probably the guy that's definitely here the more. So
that's going on my Twitter handle. Yep.
Yeah,
how are we doing?
Perfect. There we go. Yeah, TurfCast panelist. How are you, Neil? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, mate. You?
Yeah, I'm good. The coffees do taste better in the morning when Burnley have had 3 pints, don't they? I do like the Sunday morning vibe of the show. It's a shame that Sam works on Sunday mornings, but I do like the Sunday morning vibes on the show because we're all drinking coffees, we're all chilled. But it's good to see some of the regular names in the chat. Saif says, "Hi Joe, how you doing? Good mate, how are you?" I know I say this every week, but I'm sure I'll see you on Be Real later. Sav and Harvey says, "Another brilliant 3 points, one of our toughest games and opponents of the season." Yeah, they made it difficult, didn't they? They made it difficult. Neil, I'll start with you. Tough game, wasn't it, really? They turned it into a battle, didn't let us play, got in our faces, not necessarily overly aggressive, as some people would maybe label us in the Premier League, which I disagreed with, that's a different debate, but not overly aggressive, but they were in our faces. They made sure we didn't have any time on the ball, and they were just very, very intense, weren't they?
Yeah, they had a very good game plan, and they did it really well. I thought someone tweeted, it might have been you actually, but someone tweeted that they'd managed to block Teller completely. That obviously knew what his strengths were and managed to counteract that perfectly. But yeah, they were closing down. They were, in our faces. They weren't aggressive. They were how we play, really, how we played in the Premier League against us, and it worked really well for them.
Yeah, they really, really started our threat, didn't they? Of course, the only goal we got was from a penalty. So that just goes to show how well they actually did with stopping us play. Nathan, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it's pretty similar, really. I thought Luton were, that's off to them, to be fair. I thought they were one of the better teams we've faced this season, actually, that they stood up to us. They didn't sit back and try and, well, not sit with the opposite, didn't try and play against us, because I think a lot of teams have tried playing against us and it ain't worked. And, they didn't mess about with time wasting. They just dug in and really blocked it. They pointed us towards the centre of the goal quite a lot, and that just didn't work for Ashley, Teller. It just weren't working, and it forced Barnes to drop quite deep actually at times, and he sort of took himself out of the game for the first half. But no, I thought Luton were decent, but I think it shows how good we are that even when we're off it and facing a stubborn team, we can still make them chances, make them moments, and dig out 3 points. So happy with that yesterday, really happy.
Yeah, as Trucker says there, it's no wonder Luton have a great home record over these past few years. Real difficult place to get a result. What a great heart-forward win. And that's just going back to what you two boys were just saying then, isn't it, Neil? It's a difficult place to go, difficult team to play against. So the fact that we managed to dig out a result here. And I liked Company's post-match comments as well, where he said, we relish these types of games. Yeah, this is the type of game that's given me the most satisfaction in winning. And we relish these types of wins more than any other because they have to dig deep.
Yeah. Well, this is a sign of a good side, isn't it? Sorry, it's a sign of a good side, isn't it? If you can get a result from a performance like that, and we've done it for a couple of games now. Obviously, Preston was mind blowing, but Watford the other night, and then yesterday, we've not played that well, but still managed to pick something up, and that's always a sign of a good team. So I can see why he's satisfied with it.
Yeah, he said it himself, didn't he, end of game, that he'd have loved to have played in that game, especially probably from playing. If he'd have played in our team, Company would have played in our backline. He'd have loved it. How aggressive it were, how difficult it were, and tight pitch. Bit naff in places, but credit to the lads that they took all the batterings and bruisings and stuck at it. So,
Yeah, as Ryan says here in the comments, it was the absolute definition of a title-winning side. Reminded me on United under Fergie. Neil, you said something to me on Twitter yesterday. I think it was on Twitter or Instagram, where I said something like, we've not really played that well, but we've won. And that's a similar sort of thing to what Ryan's saying there. And it's a sign of a good... I know we've said it before on the podcast, and I said it again on the 60-second review last night, but it's a sign of a good team when you can not play well and have the game completely taken out your comfort zone, because that's all Luton wanted to do to us. They didn't want us let us play in our way and still manage to dig out a result.
Yeah, it's a sign of champions, isn't it? It's always been the teams that have won their respective leagues have always managed to get results like that and found a way to win. And that's what we've done. So, yeah, and then obviously we'll probably come on to it, but obviously Sheffield United dropped more points as well. So we've opened that gap up now. So it could, someone's put in the chat actually that it could be one of those crucial wins. That could be one of those moments.
Yeah. Glyn makes a good point here about the pitch as well. I don't think that helped us at all.
Shocking,
play into Luton's hands. A terrible pitch. The worrying thing I have about that is the Blackburn pitch ain't much better. If anything, it's worse. So I'm hoping we don't go there and put in another shit performance. But I think we'll
be up by that.
Beat them. But yeah, we'll have it. We've already shown that we have enough to beat them. But it's just the game that you worry about more than any, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Nathan, the penalty. Yeah. They seem to have quite a few complaints about that, didn't they? I'm not really sure what they were complaining about. Anyone in the chat who thinks it wasn't a penalty, please let yourself know now, because I'm just be interested to see someone's point of view if they don't think that was a penalty. It was so blatant.
Yeah, let yourself know and be known and then get out, because it's definitely a penalty. I mean, if you take your claret and blue glasses off, if it were the other way around and, that absolute giant of a striker there did the same thing and it hit Charlie Taylor's hand, none of us would sit here and go, that's never a penalty. When he flicks the ball back, Vitinho flicks it back, and then he was going to drop on his right peg, and he'd have had a shot off on goal, wouldn't he? Not saying he'd have scored it, but he's denied a scoring opportunity. So no qualms from me. And I don't know what their skipper's doing. He's just got booked from arguing.
He's the guy that's supposed to be the level-headed one. If Court were doing that, I'd be livid.
I said that to me and my missus were watching it yesterday. If Cork could have done that, I'd have been fuming. I mean, it'd have just done quite a good few weeks worth of work from him. That's the one person in your team that you need to just say, right, it's happened, let's get on with it. But yeah, definite penalty for me, Stonewaller.
Yeah, Stonewall, and he deserved to be sent off as well, didn't he? Obviously, sarcastically, applauding the referee in his face. Neil, I presume you echo them sentiments. Definite penalty.
Oh, 100%. 100%. There's no way. No, if you look at that and don't think it's a pen, then you don't watch football. You don't know football. End of the day, Stonewall.
Yeah, as someone here, as Trucker says in the comments, it wasn't Stonewaller, it was a granite waller.
Granite waller.
That's that. I've never heard that one before. I might use that. I might use that going forward. I do think it's a penalty, but I think it's unfortunate for them because I don't think he's naturally moved his arm. The arm's, because he's moving forward, the arm has then sort of like gone behind him. So it's unfortunate, but it's still a pen. And maybe it's a sign of a team coming from the lower leagues against the side coming from the Premier League, because it's a Premier League penalty all day long, especially with VAR, but you might not necessarily get given so much in the Conference, for example, or League One, League Two, where Luton have been in the last few years.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the whole handball rule in general. It's the inconsistency up and down, the leagues especially. But that could have easily not have been given. If that were another referee on another day, he could have easily just gone, no, he didn't mean it. He was just using his arms to balance and it's just hit his arm. But if that's anywhere else on the pitch, it's a free kick. You know, the play gets stopped, we get a free kick, we carry on. That's the way it is. So, yeah.
Interesting comment here from Solent Clarets. Just seeing the interview with the defender who handballed it, he said, what could he do as his hands were by his side? It's perfect timing there, Solent Clarets.
Yeah.
I've not seen that interview, but we were literally just talking about that. I do feel it's unfortunate for him, but it's still a penalty. It's one of them.
They weren't by his side, though, were they? It's like that.
No, yeah, well, they weren't. I think, as I said, because he's moved forward, it's kind of hit his arm.
Yeah.
But they weren't by his side. But I think because of his movement and the momentum.
Momentum in it.
Yeah, big word.
The way he's gone in to like block the shot, it's his natural position to put his arm up there, but it's then out of his silhouette. So it's like in that grey area of, is it intent or is it out of his silhouette? You know, that's the problem with the handball rule. There's no sort of, that's probably the only few rules we've got left in the game that's like really grey area, and because you can't have your arms by your side and be falling over. It's just not natural, is it? But if his arm's there and it stops the ball from dropping and landing to Vitinho's feet, then it's a penalty and it's a free kick. You know, that's what it is. So yeah, still not.
As said, I don't really see what they're complaining about. Good to see Vizzy in the chat, Resurge, Laura, Beck Holden, just some of the names I haven't had a chance to put on the screen yet. Anti-football's here as well. That's a name from the past. But I do want to talk about, I did put a comment up. There we go. Charlie Taylor, because again, he's playing out of position. So there were some moans and groans when he were there again. Some people saying, I thought, I mean, had been given a nod over him. But once again, Neil, he's come in and he's done fantastic. And we'll get on to man of the match shouts later. But a lot of people, I think, will vote for Charlie Taylor. He was superb again. And that tackle he made at the end, as Scott Hardacre says, brilliant.
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, I must admit, I'm one of those where my heart's in my mouth a little bit when he's playing at centre-back because he's got a mistake in him. But that tackle just capped a good performance from him yesterday. It was just, everything about it was just perfect. The timing, perfect.
Yeah, and he was fantastic. Some people already say man of the match in the comments. We will get onto that later. But Nathan, your thoughts on Charlie Taylor as well? Because I think he comes in as well. Obviously, we've got the two other central defenders now with 2 injuries. It's a good job we did get the 2 others, isn't it? But Charlie's still getting the nod. Why do you think he gets the nod this weekend ahead of Amin?
I think he's got that experience, hasn't he? And I think it's testament to him. And there's a few of my mates that sort of wanted him out, just to get him out of that Dash old guard team and just get rid of him. And I personally thought Dash should have come in that back end of the transfer and just snatched him up, because I thought he's probably fits into what he wants to do at Everton, but that's a different story. We shouldn't talk about Dash too much. It doesn't matter to us anymore. I think company relies on his experience and his trust that no matter how many games he sits on the bench,
that's exactly it.
Company can bring him in and he'll give you 100%. He'll do his job. If he sticks to his job and just defends, it's when he starts drifting, I think, with the ball and tries to be that wing back from centre half again. I think that's when his game gets caught out. But yesterday we're flawless again. He just stuck to his job. Him and Ekdal were, 10 yards apart all the way through the game. And he was superb. So
I think that's probably why he got picked, isn't it?
Sorry, go on, Neil.
Sorry,
yeah.
It's because we've had a few sort of defensive mistakes recently. Maybe that's why he's got the nod, just to give that calm head in and just sort of see the lads through it. Maybe that's why he's got it.
Yeah, I think it's the experience, the level-headedness, like you said, potentially because of the mistakes, but potentially as well because we're going to a team who we know are going to be physical. I mean, might not necessarily be up for it. I'm just putting it out there. It probably is, but that company match thinking, he's a young lad. I'll get someone in who's experienced, done it all before, dealt with these sort of games in this league, in this country. And obviously it worked. And I don't necessarily mind seeing on the team sheet. It doesn't bother me. He's never let us down in that position. So I don't see why sometimes there is this, oh no, not Charlie Taylor playing at centre back. Because yes, it is a bit of a square peg in a round hole, but he's been fantastic, really. Probably, obviously, you would rather have a central defender in there if they were all fit. But when he's there, I'm like, I know he's going to do a job. I trust that man. So I don't necessarily worry too much when I do see him on the team sheet, personally.
No bother for me. He slots in and he comes out, steps in, steps out. He's Yeah, he's not a problem. We need players like that. We need players that are happy to play the part, you know. And I think credit to Charlie Till. He's an experienced pro. He could quite easily spat his dummy out and said, I'm better than this. You know, I've got enough games under my belt to deserve a starting place. But he doesn't. You know, I to this day, I still don't think I've ever heard him speak. Actually, he's that like quiet and just level-headed and composed. I don't think I've ever heard him talk. So
yeah, he's a quiet lad
from him, do you?
Yeah, he doesn't seem the sort to kick off, does he? He seems sort of just
It does seem like he gets on with it. As you just said then, Nathan, and Scott Hardacre said it in the comments, Taylor could be upset, but he puts the shirt on every week when asked, and he's the best player on the pitch, and that just sums him up perfectly. A lot of players will be like, oh, this is my position, I'm a left back sort of thing, and this isn't my system, I want to play in a better system, but he doesn't. He just gets on with it, and all we can do is respect that. And every time he does come in, he plays brilliantly for us. There's a comment there on the screen about Ekdal. Do want to talk about him as well. Beck Holden says he's been superb since coming in, arguably 3 man in the match performances since coming in, and the goal, mental. Nathan, I'll start with you. He's been brilliant, Annie. He's my favourite January transfer window signing, I think, so far. He's been superb.
Yeah. Comfortably. I don't understand how he's just come in and then looked like he's been here for... He looks like he's been part of the... Like, even before Company, he's that settled at the club and that settled at the team. He looks like he's been here for about 5 years and... I can't fault the lad at the minute. That's the only downside. We missed that sort of driving runs that we get with Bayer and Bellis. But yeah, he's positioning, he's tackling, he's heading, he's calmness on the ball. He's reading of the game. He's second to none. He's probably I'd probably got to say he's probably the best centre back at reading the game we've got at the club, which is quite a high bar to set because Bayer and Howard Bellis are pretty decent, but. I don't know how companies or the scouting team, whoever's picked him out of a crowd, needs a pay rise. Sharpish, because that's a great signing.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Neil, your thoughts on Ekdal? I've been nothing but impressed with him. He's coming, even against Norwich in his first game. Obviously, that's where he got the goal. Just superb, absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love the guy.
Yeah, superb. I mean, last week was the first time I've seen him play like in the flesh, so to speak, and it's those marauding runs from the back and takes the ball out, and he looks comfortable with the ball. He looks comfortable going forward, comfortable almost playing in midfield as well. He's just, he's superb. And like you just said there, the recruitment team, they've just been, every transfer they've made so far has been spot on. So we've got some recruitment. We've gone from having a director of football who we didn't know what he actually did to this, and it's great
to find a ready-made championship player at such a young age as well. I think that's. You know, you can forget all this parachute FC and all this crap that keeps spouting out. But if you've got the money to spend, say, then you need to know how to spend it. And we're going out and picking out this random Swedish lad that literally nobody in Burnley, and I don't care what account comes out and says, yeah, I've used him on Football Manager once and all that. No one's heard of him. No one's used him. No one's seen him. And yet he just slots straight in and looks like I say, he's been here for 10 years and looks like...
They all seem the same sort of personality, don't they? Every signing we make seems to be just slotting into that team and part of the group and just the same sort of person.
It's no surprise because they all look like mini versions of Vincent Kompany. You know what I mean? It makes sense that we've got probably one of the best centre-backs we've had on this planet for the past 10 years, and he knows how to pick centre-back. And he sees himself in a lot of these young lads that come through. So if we set up a back three or back two with 2 Vincent Kompany's in that team, then I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I think it was you I had this conversation with, Neil. I can't remember. Forgive me if I'm wrong. So I'll ask Nathan. Obviously, Taylor Hedwood-Bellis will be back soon. We presume Bale will be back soon. Ekdal hopefully will stay fit. Say in 2 months, we have all our fit centre-backs. Who are you starting at the back?
It's a tough question. See, the idiot on me that plays Football Manager probably try and play a back three and it all goes shit.
Wide centre-backs.
Yeah. Just get them all in. You can't drop one. No. I think Ekdal's not done anything to warrant coming out of that team. I'd probably say keep Ekdal and Bayer for 1 game and let Howard Bellis sort of drip feed back into the team. You know, because we're making more changes around the 60th minute mark, and maybe Ekdal comes out, Hjalmar Bellis comes in. And we do it that way. But I think Ekdal and Bayer are the 2 at the minute, and then, which is mental to say that because Howard Bellis is again a joke of a player. He shouldn't be in this league.
We're signing Bayer, aren't we? Aren't we signing him?
I've saw that yesterday.
Yeah, well,
Alan Nixon
obviously,
put it
I
out,
think
didn't
Nixon put it out yesterday that obviously I remember last week somebody in the comments was saying to us last week that representatives from Mönchengladbach were over. I wonder what all this were about, people were saying. And now it's come out that we are going to exercise the option to sign him when promotion is sealed. It's obviously a case of, all right, it's looking like we're going up. We might as well wait to make sure that this influx of money is coming in, even though it's looking likely that it will. But let's just be 100% certain that it is. And then when that money is coming in, we'll sign him. I reckon that's how the conversation's gone. Bayer's gone, yes, I want to play in the Premier League. I love Mönchengladbach, but I want to play in the Prem, so I want to stay. So, yeah, it's looking like when we go up, Bayer will be signing. And that is, for me, why I would play Ekdal and Bayer. Because even though I love Hjalmar Ekdal, I absolutely love him. I think he's probably is the best out of the three or has the highest ceiling out of the three. He's going to go back to City. So let's just get our own two centre-backs bedded in, ready for next season. That's what I'd do personally anyway.
Get him and get Teller signed and we're all right, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'd say Hjalmar Ekdal is going back to City. You look at probably where City's season's going. They're probably going to have a bit of a rethink over the summer, aren't they? And I think they might start opting for younger players.
I don't think he'll play. I think we've got a good chance of getting him. I think we've got a good chance of getting him for another year.
Yeah, I'd happily take him on loan for another year or sign him 10 mil and then give City like first refusal.
Yeah, buyback or something
nothing. You know what I mean? Just let him have him back for nothing if he turns out. But yeah, I'd have him on loan again. Makes sense. But whether City will do it, they don't tend to loan players out to the Premier League teams, do they?
Company though, isn't it?
Something. Again, that's the pull. It's like maybe company can go, I'll be your gaffer in a few. Give us Hjalmar Ekdal and I'll be your gaffer in a few years.
Yeah. The comments are coming in, probably the quickest they've ever come in, really. So apologies if I haven't not seen yours. I'm not reading them out. I do want to talk about Muric. Trucker Jenkins says, good to see Muric have an almost flawless game too. Made a real good save in the first half and did well on all the crosses. That's the point I want to make. The crosses, the save he was expected to make. So I don't want to fall into the trap with Muric of because I love him and the criticism he gets is too far, especially for the mistake he made. It was a mistake that he made, but the stuff that he got on Twitter were too far. But I don't want to fall into a trap of overpraising him for the simple things because I think that then that kind of like belittles him in a way that we don't mean to. So it's good to see him do well though, but I don't want to fall into the trap of praising him too much for that save. It was a save he should have made, but it's the crosses he did well on that I was happy.
But it shows that it was. Well, it shows that it was just a mistake and that he's not a bad keeper and he's not out of form. It was just a mistake. And I think I tweeted after it happened that every player makes a mistake. Centre-halves make mistakes, midfielders make mistakes, defenders make mistakes. And if they make a mistake, it just means we haven't scored a goal or we lose possession. But unfortunately, when it's a keeper, it just means a goal. And he's young and he made a mistake. But anyways, it was getting a bit over the top. He got a lot of praise as well, but it was a bit over the top, the criticism he got. But it's just shown that it was a one-off mistake.
Yeah,
and I think he's crucial to how we play.
Yeah. This doesn't our style play don't happen without a keeper like that. You know, you got to be able to do what he does and be calm with the ball. But like, is he 23, 22, 23?
I think someone in the comments. So we always have this debate, don't we, Neil? Someone in the comments always puts straight away, "Is this age?" So I think he's 23.
Like to be that, like you got to forget he's playing in a probably title-winning championship team. Playing some of the most ridiculous football this league's ever seen. He's 23. I think Watford, you know, we only know what company said, which was that Muric said he was ill too late. You know, he didn't tell them that he was ill. Whether that's the truth or not, we'll never know. If companies hooked him, fair enough. He's entitled to do it. You know what I mean? Is what it is. But that's a learning curve. If Muric was ill and he didn't say it because he just wants to play in this team and get more clean sheets, you know, do this, that, and the other. He'll learn an hard lesson there, and he won't do that again. But good players, good people, you know, like good personalities bounce back, you know, without any issues. And he was again superb on Saturday. Did the basics right, which is something that he's not really had to do. That's the problem. That's my argument I see a lot that I raise as well. He doesn't have to do the basics a lot because we keep the ball so much. You know, he doesn't get peppered with shots like Nick Pope did or Tom Eaton. You know, Nick Pope looked great at shot stopping because all he did for 90 minutes was shot stopping. It was just a training session for him. So I don't think, you know, to see him come out and claim his crosses, dive for stuff. Just get his basics right is important, I think, after a knockback like that, regardless whether he's been hooked or he's ill. I think he's big response from him. So fair play to him. Fair play.
Look at just what you mentioned, Pope there. I don't want to go on about Pope too much, but everyone compares them. But he made a mistake yesterday. Someone's put in the comments.
He made a mistake yesterday.
And what mistake it was as well, yeah. But all the keepers do it.
I have never seen Nick Pope. I mean, I've seen him flap at kicking a ball and that, but I have never seen Nick Pope absolute crumble like that.
Newcastle, mate. I live in the northeast, and I tweet as a Newcastle mate that you've ruined him. He's never done that, and you've ruined him.
Yeah.
Does he miss the cup final as well? I know this isn't.
Yeah, he does. They've got to start. Is it Karius? Because
really,
Dubravka played against us, so he's cup tied. He went on loan to United, didn't he, and played against us.
Oh, of course he
in
did.
The cup, so he's cup tied. So now I can't believe what Eddie Howe. I know I don't want to digress too much, but I can't believe Eddie Howe came out and said it's harsh. I mean, it's blatant handball. It's harsh on Nick.
It's his own fault. It's his own fault.
Yeah, exactly. I feel sorry for Nick and it's harsh on Nick, which I think is maybe the angle he's going with, but he was just saying it's harsh. Maybe it is a handball technically. I'm like, what are you on about? It's a handball.
We'll not mention on it. There's a terrible picture of Nick Pope, and it's like its face has landed like on the ball, and the ball's like half squashed, and Nick Pope's face is like perfectly placed on it, and you could almost see in his eyes, he's like, "Yeah, I fucked up."
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'd like to have seen the Burnley fans' reaction if Muric had done that. Put it that way. I think hopefully the Newcastle fans have been a little bit more accepting to Nick because he's done so well. Having said that, Muric did well, but he got some over the top criticism. Just had a comment here from Humongous, great name. You guys think you'll keep hold of Martson? I'm a City fan, but he looks quality. I think Sergio Gomez will go on loan, maybe Burnley next season. Played under VK at Anderlecht. We've discussed like who we would sign and stuff on the loan stuff before. Somebody put in the comments as well, Obafemi will be signing permanently as well. I kind of see Obafemi as a permanent signing anyway. I know technically he came in on loan, but the talk was, £3 million. Maybe we couldn't get that over the line then, so we just said about loan now, summer. So yes, he will be confirmed. Bayer's obviously going to be confirmed. I hope Teller's confirmed. I think the one after that will probably be Martson, but whether or not we bring him in permanently, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Neil, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just with Teller there, because you mentioned him. I forgot to mention it last week, but am I reading too much into his celebration at Preston when he was doing that?
A few people did that. I think Nathan put that up on the Monday Out page. I've seen a few people mention that. I'm not sure.
I think he just likes coffee. I think he's just a coffee connoisseur.
No, it is. Because he was doing that when and I just thought, is that him suggesting something? But yeah, Maatsen, I don't know because he does, and we signed his best mate as well. So Maatsen, I don't know because Chelsea aren't doing well, are they? So they might want to call him back and give it a try. But they're not shy of spending money either, are they? So they might equally just be.
It all depends on what happens with Potter, I think, because like I say, they spend money now, but that's their spending done. They can't spend any. Well, they can spend more, but they're going to have to rein it in now. They've spent big. They've probably only got 1 or 2 signings left in them, and they need number 9. A right back isn't their priority. So if Potter stays, I could probably see Maatsen going back and being sort of Chilwell or James's understudy. But I don't. It's hard to say. Does he? We're on a crest of a wave, aren't we? Here, I think the lads that are here kind of want to stay and they kind of enjoy it.
You would want to stay and be involved in this.
Yeah, it just depends on how if Chelsea ring Maatsen up and go, we want you to come back. We'll give you all the cup games, potentially a little. Well, if they met Europe, that is, but potentially a few little European games. I don't know. You don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Interesting. We've got a Luton fan in the chat. He says, Luton fan here, how we never got something out of yesterday's game. Interesting, David, to get your opinion. If you want to put more comments in, I will put them on screen, provided they're all clean and sensible, of course. But yeah, we were saying at the top of the show, Luton were a very good side. Was very aggressive, but fairly aggressive, got in our faces, didn't let us play. We have struggled against Rob Edwards' sides this season because, of course, we didn't score down at Watford when he was the manager there. We only got a goal yesterday thanks to the penalty, really. And yeah, he's been the only manager that stopped us playing because even when we got dicked 5-2 off Sheffield United, we still bossed them for the first 45 minutes. They didn't stop us playing. They just maybe did in the second half, but just more bombarded us with crosses and stuff like that. Whereas Rob Edwards has pretty much stopped us from playing for 180 minutes. So yeah, Luton were unlucky, but as we've said at the top of the show, it is a sign of a good side. So it'll be interesting, David. In fact, David, if you are still in the chat, I want to hear your thoughts on the penalty. It's a penalty, innit? Come on, it's a penalty. And you're captain. You need to have a word with him because that was a disgrace. We've talked about Teller. We've talked about Martson. Barnes.
Ashley Barnes, Nathan, this is for you because I have asked Neil this about 6 times. And I did clip it up and put it out as a thing. Obviously, Ashley Barnes' contract runs out in the summer. The club do have an option to extend it on their terms. If they want to trigger a 1-year contract extension, they can do that. Would you trigger that contract extension, or would you say, right, you've won the league, thank you for everything, Ashley, it's time to go?
I think you've got to let him decide. I think he's been here long enough. Like a lot of, it's sort of when Company finished at City, so he got free rein of what he wanted to do towards the back end, whether he wanted to stay on and be a coach or move on. So I think just let Ashley decide. If he feels like he's got another season in him at the Premier League, which I probably would say that he wouldn't sniff at, if I'm honest, another year sort of Prem money, I don't think he'd sniff it. But if he feels like he's got something to prove by going back to Plymouth or, staying in the Championship, I don't know. I'd still let him decide. I love him, love the guy. I want him to stay forever. He just epitomises the club, epitomises the town. He gets it for me. Love Barnes.
I think that's the main thing. He's one of the players that I think a lot of them do now, to be fair. But when you look at Ashley, he just personifies Burnley.
He's playing like a captain, isn't he, at the minute?
He is,
He's playing like a captain.
I said that in my group chat, that he's up there. He's one of them captains that aren't captain, and I think that's important going into next year, because a lot of these young lads now, like Benson, Zaruri, all these, they ever played Premier League football, they're going to need big voices in that dressing room. And
exactly.
Corky, Barnesy, Charlie Taylor, these lads, there's probably a few more that I'm missing, but these lads are key, I think. Even if they don't kick a football all season, I think they're massive, I think, let him do what he wants. Sign a 10-year contract extension for me. I don't mind. Do what you want, Barnesy.
Yeah, here till he's 45. James, the lad in the chat, says, I want Barnes a part of this team next year. He brings so much to the team in terms of bringing the team together, which is kind of what you two were just both saying, wasn't it, there? Solent Clarets. I did see this put up by DL Roberts and then the club. He's actually got a 100% penalty record, hasn't he, for us? He's took 9 penalties, scored 9. He'll be knocking on the door of Graham Alexander soon. But I didn't realise how good his penalties were. Like, he's obviously scored the one at Anfield. That's probably the one I remember the most. But yeah, even if we just keep him for that, I mean, I know we don't get many penalties in the Prem, but just keep him for that and then just have him on. And then if we get a penalty, stick him on. But should really bring Graham Alexander back if we're going to do that. Chris B says, I agree. Barnes brings a lot, especially off the pitch. And this, I know we've discussed it a few times, Neil, but I think me and you sort of discussed it last time you were on. The potential of becoming a coach, or maybe let him go for a couple of years, finish his career at somewhere like Plymouth, which is where he's from, like Nathan said, and then come back in as a coach and then do all the off-the-pitch things that he can do then.
Yeah, we said before, didn't we? I think it's him and Cork are doing the badges, aren't they? And they've coached a few of the youth team games and stuff. And I think it's showing just by how he is on the pitch that he's got that mentality. So, I can definitely see him. Even if he doesn't stay, I think he will come back in a staff role eventually.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I want him to get the testimonial as well. It'll be class if he gets the testimonial.
Does he get that next season if he stays?
I think so. You're supposed to get it after 10 years, aren't you? But I think I don't know.
Is it? Yeah.
But you don't always get it. Obviously, Kevin Long did get one, but I mean, I think he played 3 times.
Ben Mee didn't get one, did he? Did Ben Mee get one?
Yeah, Ben Mee didn't get one. Yeah. That's interesting. It might be worth some of these. I mean, I'm digressing again a little bit, but it might be worth people like Ben Mee, only Ben Mee really, because Kevin Long's not one of them, coming back, not as a player, but sort of like when he's retired or something, and having something for him then. I don't know.
Imagine that testimonial game. Joey Barton, Dean Marney, Boydie, Ben Mee, Bashley, Eatson in. Oh, don't. My little heart's going there. My little heart's going. Yeah. Get Burnley Charlton in a testimonial. Let's recreate that game.
The Luton fans back. He's had his say. David Krevin says, yeah, we knew we had to get in your faces yesterday and not let you play football. At the time, I didn't think it was a penalty, but just seeing the highlights back and I can see why it got given. I agree. Then he also goes on to say, also, there was no need for Lockie to get some silly calls. It was a bit silly. But at least you've seen the light there, David. I could see why maybe in the ground you didn't think it was a pen. Maybe you just missed it, or somebody was in your way. But at least you saw the lights when. Saw the light when when you saw the highlights. Last pretty much thing on the game before we get into man of match shouts and having a look at that beautiful table, as we always end the show with. I want to talk about Brownhill because he seemed to be becoming the scapegoat a little bit yesterday on Twitter. He was getting a lot of stick. He didn't have his best performance and he has been a little bit out of form recently, but I think we need to remember he was playing in left mid for a bit, then he went sort of like defensive mid for a bit. But in the earlier part of the season, when he was playing in that number 10 role, he was fantastic. So it's difficult to say getting back in that position when you've got so many options in that position now. But I think if we just look at the start of the season, how well he was when he was playing in the position that he wants to play, rather than going left mid and things like that, like he was yesterday. Not the best performance, but I think we need to remind ourselves how good Brownhill actually is when he's playing in the position that he wants to play. Neil, what did you think about the... it weren't criticism, really. Well, it was, but it weren't over the top. I just felt like Brownhill was becoming the scapegoat, and if we didn't get that win, I think people would say, time to drop Brownhill.
Yeah, there's always someone to blame, isn't there? No, he is out of form, but he's been phenomenal all season, and he's not playing poorly. He's just not at the level he was. But it's the amount of he's not missed many games, so he's probably due a bit of time out and probably a little bit tired and maybe playing with an injury and stuff. Long season.
If this is Brownhill out of form, then I'll take it. I think most championship teams would take an out of form Brownhill because he's still putting in a shift. Like, he's getting, he's only. Or is he one more yellow card or 2 yellow cards away from getting a suspension? But that shows that he's making them, and pretty much I reckon all them yellow cards are them sort of like cynical, stopping break.
The ones you want him to do.
Yeah, the ones you need
fouls.
to do. So,
professional fouls.
Yeah. That's such a good thing to have, and he's been class, an absolute class. I think so. I think he's allowed a few off games here and there as long as it doesn't affect anything. He'll come good again. He'll come good.
Yeah, he will. I think if we put him in that position, where he wants to play, just in that number 10 role or behind the midfield, in that attacking sort of role, he's very, very good. It's just at the minute, we have a lot of good players there at the minute. So with Goodmanson coming back from injury as well, Teller can play there. People like that, and obviously you've got Benson and Zarori on the wings, and then you've even got players like Darko and stuff that are still waiting in the wings. So it's interesting to see what we are going to do with him going forward.
Yeah, I think now because like at the beginning of the season, like it shocked us all that how we play football. So you can imagine how much it shocked every team playing against us. So we probably had a lot of freedom in that midfield, because teams just was setting up. They just thought, 4-4-2, set up, Burnley away. We'll just go out and try and beat them, and yet we were just passing the ball around them. And I think now teams are catching on, which is why this back end of the season is going to be a bit. I'm not saying we're going to throw anything away because we're not. We're going up. Don't bang me out on that one.
Going up as champions.
But I think I think we're going to find, we're going to find a lot of teams that are going to dig in a bit more and do a Luton, like give us a really tough game and make us earn that 3 points, not just get the 3 points like we have been doing. They'll make us earn them. So I think.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how teams are going to set up against us now, isn't it? Because both Watford and Luton have stopped us from playing, and they've had an element of success. Obviously, Watford got the point. Luton, obviously lost the match, but if it wasn't for the penalty and a lapsing error by their defender, then they'd have got the point as well. And they have stopped us from playing. We've probably created, I haven't seen the stats, but I bet we've created the least chances in them 2 games than we have all season. I'm sure someone will tell me I'm wrong in a minute. But that's how it felt in the terms of the balance of play anyway. So do you think teams will start seeing teams set up like this more often than not? But you have to be a certain type of team to be able to do it, though, don't you? Like Blackburn tried to stop us from playing, that didn't work. Preston tried to stop us from playing, that didn't work. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams do set up against us. Millwall yesterday seemed to go for Sheffield United, so it's one of them. Like if they go for us, I do think we'll pick them off. Neil, how do you think teams are going to set up against us? Do you think they'll try and emulate Watford and Luton?
Yeah, I think they will. And someone's just put in the comments, and you sort of suggested, I think they will, but not every team's going to be able to do it. Because Luton are a good team and Watford are a good team. And there you go. There's some teams will try it, but they just won't be good enough to do it, and that's when we can exploit it.
There's a common theme happening. It gets, I see it. Someone tweets it saying, "Yeah, they're pressing us, they're pushing us. They can't keep this up. They can't keep this up," and it happens. They can't keep it up.
I tweeted that. Yesterday.
They can't keep it up. These teams that are coming, they can do it well for 60, 70 minutes, but then we'll just throw Benson. Oh, well, we can't. We'll throw Zaruri on. We'll put Obafemi on. We'll make some change. And they can't keep it up. So it's going to be probably the next couple of. I think the next handful of games are going to be a bit of a tough watch. I think we're going to see low scoring, tough watches. Watchers go and beat Millwall 5-0 now, but it'll be. Yeah, I think there'll be tough watches because teams will set up, and you can't blame teams for setting up against us. We're top of the league, 70-odd points. You'd be a fool to try and play football against us because we just pop teams off if you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
72 points in February, by the way.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Well, what crack was there yesterday? Because he came on and went off, didn't he?
Yeah, someone asked that earlier on.
Weren't it?
Yeah, I looked at that and presumed it was tactical.
No.
He's come on. He came on to replace an injured player, didn't he? Was it Teller? I can't remember. But he came on to replace.
Teller.
Yeah, he came on to replace somebody who picked up an injury, and then in like the 87th minute, when we're a little bit under the cosh, we've got the 1-0, and you want somebody on with a little bit more defensive, knowledge about them. It's just a case of maybe just take an ass off and think. I think sometimes managers do panic about that too much. Go, we can't take him off because we just brought him on. Like, well, if he's the most susceptible to it, take him off. So
credit to Anas, so like obviously I'm not sports or whatever, but just the clip that I saw of him walking off, he looked absolutely fine with it. You know what I mean? Which again speaks wonders about this team. There's an absolute unity of what Vincent says goes. There's no quite. Yeah. Like, there were a break in the game. I can't remember when it were, but all the players apart from Muric just wandered over to Vincent. Every single one of them were just sat in silence, having the little drinks, just focused on him. Not one person were chirping up. They listened to everything he said, and then after that, we went and then got the penalty. So,
yeah. Solent Clarets says tactically was subbed with Foster in the 92nd minute. Yeah, but I think Foster. I've never seen Zaroury head a ball. I've seen Foster at least attempt to head a ball. So maybe it was something more in that as well.
Just
to stop him
to pin the ball in there off. I think that's what it was. I think they were just to pin the ball, like clear the lines and pin the ball in there off a bit more. Yeah. Foster obviously is a bigger lad and a bit of a lump, so I think he'd be better at that than Zaroury.
Yeah, fair enough. Icky Punk says, interesting comment from VK post-match yesterday about not seeing us at top of the league, but 21st place in the country. The first time I've heard him allude to us being in Prem already. Yeah, to be fair, I do sometimes look at, there's a Southampton fan at work, and he was a few weeks back giving us grief. I'm like, mate, we're literally one place below you. That's it. We are going to be in the Prem next season. The chances are you won't, although a very good result for them yesterday. So we'll see. Yeah. That race is hotting up. That Premier League relegation battle is hotting up. But yeah, it's good to see him say. I like it when he says things like that. It, like you say, Neil, doesn't it? It alludes to him sort of like thinking of us about of one of the country's elites.
Yeah, it's that mentality that he's got. He's got that from his playing days, hasn't he? He's a winner, and that's how he's going to manage with that mindset.
Yeah,
there's a good. He's got his company. Yeah, he's a humble winner, I think, as well. I think I've always admired company as a player. He's a humble winner. He's not just a winner. He never gets ahead of his station. I think in any time there's been like title races and stuff, and he's had some big says in them title races. But yeah, he always. I think that game against Leicester where he just pumped one in from 30 yards, it top bins. Yeah. And after the game, he's more annoyed about the players telling him not to shoot than talk about that game changing the title race. He's quite a humble winner. So, but I think there's a common agreement that they don't mention, do they, at the club? There's an article from Alan Pacey did that they just ban the word promotion, don't they? And
really,
they don't talk about it whatsoever, and it's not even in their thinking. Obviously, it probably is deep down that they have to start planning, with these signings. But I think there's a common keep it quiet. When it happens, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, it's happening. So, Alan, if you're watching, you need to start talking about it. Maybe even get it tattooed across your chest. But going back, in fact, before I go back to the game, I do want to talk about injuries. Is anybody worried? Because that's Benson out, Jay out, Bayer out, Harewood Bellis out. Did I mention Teller just then? I can't remember. Teller out, if not. So they're mounting up, aren't they? I'm going into, if we were only 5 points clear, I probably would be a little bit, but with 15 points clear of Middlesbrough in third, and now is it 11 points clear of Sheffield United in a second? I will get the table up as usual before we end the show. But Nathan, I'll start with you. Are you worried about the injuries, or are you more than confident in how good our bench is and our B team is?
I think you have to be slightly concerned because someone like Teller, who is just pivotal, the way he pulled up yesterday. It doesn't. Yeah, it's a comment there. Says it was cramp.
I've not seen anything official on that yet. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything official on that. I think he'll be missing Watford, Millwall.
Yeah. But no, you have to be slightly concerned. But just because that first team is the team. I know the B team is probably just as good as most of the Championship, but that first team is the winning team in it. So
yeah,
and we've still got the FA Cup to think about. Do we want to have a crack at that? I would say, yeah, as a fan, do we want to have a crack at that? But if it's going to cause us more injury, more game time, I don't know. you got one eye on it.
Yeah. Neil, your thoughts on the injuries mounting up?
They are mounting up, but none of them seem long term or anything like that. They all just seem to be sort of just a culmination of how many games we've played and the style of play. You're always going to get injuries. Like Barnes went off, didn't he, with his hand, but he's back now. They're all just sort of short-termy sort of stuff and cramp. We've had a couple of cramps, haven't we? And so it's not like players are getting stretched off or anything. So hopefully they're just little knocks. And maybe it's precaution. Maybe it's bringing people off just to stop. It's if they feel the thigh or feel the hamstring, we'll get them off and not risk it.
Yeah. You'd like to think Obafemi, like if Taylor is a bit of a serious one, you like to think Obafemi and Taylor is a straight swap. They know each other pretty well. So I think it'd be quite an easy change to make that one. But
yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with that one. Hopefully, it is just cramp and he's back by Saturday or even Tuesday. I'll be very, very, very surprised if we see him on Tuesday. But Jack McCallum in the comments says, any idea on Benson's return? There doesn't seem to be much information about that out there at the minute. I don't know if company's a bit like Daesh in the sense that he doesn't give too much information away on his injuries, but he was warming up with the subs and warming down, I think, after the Watford game. I can't remember.
Back on the grass
game. Here we go, back on the grass. Dash Bingo is back. Yeah. So hopefully he's not too far away, but we shall see with that one. Man of the match shouts then. Get them in the comments. I'll ask the lads, and then I will read out all the comments and the votes in the comments for the man of the match. Actually, just before I do that, and it gives more people more time to get the votes in because the comments do tend to be about 30 seconds behind. Solent Clarets has said about Teller. VK said he'll be fine. It's either a bit more than cramp or just a knock. It's his leg, so we'll see. It's quick succession of games, so I don't know. So there you go. The what's the word? The official word is we don't know. It's probably just a bit more than cramp, but yeah, we'll see. Anyway. Man of the match shouts. I'll start. I'm going to go with Charlie Taylor. I know we've spoken about him already, so I won't go in with him in there too much, but he's playing out of position. He's doing a very damn good job at it as well. You could probably argue that Ekdal was the better defender yesterday, but Charlie made that excellent challenge late on that stops them probably having a very good chance at goal. And he's never complaining. He's playing out of position and he's doing a damn good job out of it without playing. So Charlie Taylor's my vote. Nathan.
Yeah, I'm probably going to lean to. I've waxed lyrical about Ekdal, so I'm going to lean towards Ekdal. I think he, on a difficult pitch, on a small pitch, with that absolute monster of a striker that they have, he dealt with him quite well. He carried the ball well, he read the game well, and again, to do it on that pitch, I think screams about the quality of the lad. And I'm just a sucker for a bloke that just wears black Adidas boots. I don't know why. It just looks like he's from the 1970s. Yeah, he's just a class defender, just simple. So I'm going to give it Ekdal. I think he consistently has deserved it over the past few games. So yeah, Ekdal for me.
Fair enough. One vote for Taylor on the show, one vote for Ekdal. Neil, which way are you leaning?
I'm going. It could be either, but I'm going Taylor just for that tackle. That's just tipped him over for me because that tackle was just superb. And as someone's put in the comments as well, I just wanted to say that I think Coutinho was mint as well.
When he came on, he was brilliant.
Game changer, weren't he? Caused absolute chaos, didn't he? Just so unpredictable.
I'm going Taylor. It could easily be Ekdal or Taylor, but it's that tackle that's done it for me.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Coutinho then, because I want to see more of him. Like he's so good. He has like games where he just goes missing, and that's probably the reason why we don't see that much of him. And Vinny probably wants a little bit more consistency out of him. But when he's on form, he's brilliant. Obviously, he scored after about 3.2 seconds against Norwich. So I think it was Norwich. So he has got a lot of quality in him. But anyway, just going back to the man of the match, Solent Clarence says Taylor. Phil Wilcott, good to see you in the chat, Phil. I know you came in late, but as usual, you can watch it when the show finishes at your leisure. He says Taylor. Alex says Ekdal, but thought Vitinho was fantastic when he came on. Simon says Ekdal. Chris P says Taylor. Jack McCullum, the only vote that's a little bit different. He goes for Barnes. Man of the match has to be because of the goal, or maybe Vitinho when he came on because he looked dangerous. And Tony Miller says Ekdal. So everyone pretty much going for the same sort of players, apart from Jack. But you can understand why Jack's gone for Barnes, because Barnes were fantastic again yesterday as well. And of course, 9 out of 9 in terms of penalties. So it's great to see Barnes doing so well. But lads, unless there's anything else that you want to say, we'll start wrapping the show up. There is something that I do want to do before we go.
Yep.
Obviously, it's become a bit of a tradition now on TurfCast with us doing so well. Funnily enough, I didn't do it much last season, but I do it pretty much every full-time show this season. But there it is on your screen now when it loads. The league table. Now, of course, we won yesterday, whereas Sheffield United didn't. They lost 3-2 at Millwall. They've now lost 2 games in a row, as you can see there on the form next to their name. Millwall are on some great form. They've won their last 5, potentially even more than that. Obviously, the form that we're looking at on screen only goes through to the last 5 games. But the race for the championship is extending, which is good for us. Like the actual championship title, it's looking like we're running away with it. 11 points in February. Yes, of course, it's not mathematical and we can be caught, but that would mean there has to be a point swing of 22 games for us to not win the league. Sheffield United have lost 7 games this season. Middlesbrough have lost 10. We have lost 2. So for any of them to catch us, we're going to need to be how many games is there left? Is it 14? We're going to have to lose 4 games minimum out of that for Sheffield United to catch us, and that's if they win every single game. My maths ain't great, so if I apologise if I get something wrong here. And if Middlesbrough are 15 points behind us, and our goal difference is far superior, we need to lose 5 games and draw 1 if they win every single game. It's not going to happen, with the greatest of respect. We might lose a couple more games between now and the end of the season because, we'll take our foot off the gas a little bit because, we're pretty much there. But that league table looks brilliant, doesn't it, Nathan? Absolutely fantastic.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's 19th of February, by the way. Just put some context on them 72 points.
It's
19th of February. That's mental. That is ridiculous.
Hang it in the Louvre. Hang that in the Louvre.
Yeah. I think with Sheffield United as well, I don't think you don't win many leagues by losing 7 games. I don't think, and drawing. I know we've had too many draws for my liking on there, but I say for my liking was 72 points in February. But yeah, I think seven defeats is probably a bit too many. So hopefully, when we come to play them again back in the season, we stick another one of them on there.
Yeah,
extend that lead.
Neil. Apologies, but when I put the comments up, they do go above your face now that we've gone into this format. But Phil Wilcott says, Phil Wilcott says 4 wins from 14, and Chris P also says 4 wins should be enough for us to go up 5 to win the title. I mean, as me and Nathan have already said, it's looking like we're going to win the league. We're going to go up. I know you're pretty confident about you, Neil. Are you still confident?
Yeah, still confident. The other thing to look at there is we've scored 63, so that's the most in the league, and we've only conceded 27, and that's the least I can see there as well. It's we're not going to blow it now.
Numbers are a joke.
The numbers are just ridiculous.
I don't think we will do it, but I sort of want to get that record off Reading now, because I think that because we've already won the league now, there's nothing more to look forward to. There's obviously something to look forward to, but I want to go and get that record because it will put the icing on the cake. I think that. Yeah, we've gone up not just as champions, but the best champions in the championship ever to play in the championship. So,
yeah, it'll be interesting because I think once we go up and then we've won the title, I don't know if Vinny will allow it, but it's just natural for players to take the foot off the gas, whether Vinny allows it or not. It's just natural, and I just think we'll start drawing a few games, maybe losing a couple. Who knows? I think the target.
I was saying that yesterday. I said the minute that we either win the league or promotion's sort of confirmed, we'll probably start losing games.
I don't think it's just you remember that City's team that won the league? I think it was like back end of April, and they wanted that 100-point tally, and they celebrated that 100 points more than the title win. And that was because
maybe it's that.
That's Company, that's Pep, that's Dibra, that's all them big names putting their foot on the other players' throat, saying, "You win, you keep winning." The job's not done. You keep winning, and I think I think it might even just make us even worse. I think it'll make us even harder to beat once we win the league, personally.
Hopefully. But that's the winning mentality that we know that company has, to be fair. So hopefully that is the case. Chris P says, can we reach 100 points? I've just had a quick Google, and the last time we won the championship was obviously 2016, where we got 93 points. We only lost 5 games all season that season, but we lost obviously all 5 in the earlier part of the season, and then went on the 23 undefeated run. So it's interesting. It's interesting. The last thing I do want to chat about, which Beck Holden has very politely reminded me about it, is who do you guys think is going to get second? I still think it was Sheffield United. I know people love to go with momentum in football because momentum is a big thing in football, as Phil Brown once told me. But I don't know. I just think Sheffield United are, if you look at them on paper, yes, Middlesbrough are having a great run of form, but there's always teams that have this great run of form at this stage of the season, but they peak a little bit too early and then they start fading as the running comes in. So I think Sheffield United will turn it round, and I do think they'll still finish second. What about you? I'll start with you, Nathan. We'll just go in order at screen.
Yeah. If you'd have asked me before that result of theirs yesterday, I'd be like, yeah, second place is done. But that's a bit of a wobble that, losing 3-2 to Millwall in the manner that they did. If I was Sheffield United fans, I'd be a bit wary. Yeah. I think they're going through the same things we are, that teams are figuring them out. Teams are getting at them now. And you look at their form compared to ours, there's a lot of reds on there. There's not many on ours. So, and you look at Middlesbrough, there's just greens on there. So, I don't know. I'll probably lean towards
done
Middlesbrough.
An amazing job there.
He's done really well
there.
Obviously, if Carrick was at the start of the season, their manager, it'd be us and Middlesbrough battling for the championship, the title. Like, we'd probably both be on 72 points or something like that at this stage.
Random subject here, but doesn't that make you feel power old that Vincent Kompany and Michael Carrick are like flying in the championship as managers? I'm only 30, but my God, I feel old.
It's only 30. 35 over here, mate. So you're making me feel old now. But it's, I mean, obviously, I do like to chop and change the guests, and sometimes I'll have Vizzy on, sometimes I'll have one of the lads from Talk BFC on. So it's always good to have the older generation on with me and comments like that. It makes me feel a little bit better. But yeah, Neil, who do you think is going to finish second then? Are you thinking Middlesbrough? Are you thinking Sheffield United, or potentially even a late surge from Luton or Sunderland? Because Sunderland are in decent form as well, or am I getting a little bit carried away there? It's going to be one of Sheffield United and Middlesbrough probably, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be one of Sheffield United and Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough might do. I think I'm going to go with Middlesbrough because I do think Sheffield United are having a wobble. And Borough's form, it's clearly not a new manager bounce because it would have ended by now. I think so. Interesting, we're playing Borough pretty soon as well, aren't we?
Yeah, as Solon Clarets points out in the chat, only one more hard game left for Burnley. Borough away. Maybe after Tuesday. Maybe after we've still got to play Millwall away. And Blackburn won't be a walk in the park like it was at the Turf because their pitch is horrendous, and they probably won't water it again between now and March just because they're waiting for us to come in. So we will see. But it's interesting. I think because that. Someone put in the comment earlier, would love for us to beat Sheffield United and drop them to second, but we've still got to play both of them. We've got to play Sheffield United and Middlesbrough yet. Obviously, Sheffield United is at home, so it's interesting.
And also, Sheffield United don't play Middlesbrough either. They don't have to play each other anymore. So they're just chasing their own destiny there. There's no 6-pointer in that third or second, so it'd be interesting to see who can focus on their own game more, I think, and just keep doing their bits. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it then. Unless there's anything else that anyone wants to add, we'll start wrapping it up. Nathan, been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show. Neil, official TurfCast panelist, he is now. So thank you for being readily available on a Sunday morning. We all have families and stuff. So I know it's difficult for people to come on sometimes. So I always appreciate it. Nathan, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you and because you're the latest kid on the podcast block, aren't you? On the Burnley podcast block. So let everyone know where they can find you and your page.
Yeah, trying to. So I'm Burnley Mundial. Just going to throw some bits out there, try and give the podcasting game a go. I don't think I'm going to be as frequent as most of the other lads because them can't compete with them boys. They've set they're the Burnley of the podcast world at the Championship at the minute. So I'm just going to try and put some stuff out there, jump in. Any ideas, any tips, any thoughts, let us know. But yeah, Burnley Mundial, have a look.
Yeah, where can people find you on socials and stuff? Is it just at Burnley Mundial?
Yeah, just on Twitter and YouTube at the minute, and the podcast, I've managed to set it all up so it now goes out to everywhere you can find your audio versions of it all. So Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, it's all on there. So yeah, it'd be nice if you check us out. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely go and check them out. And Neil, you're just Neil. You don't have
I'm
any
just
stuff.
me.
You're
Yeah.
TurfCast's official panelist.
Right, that is going in my bio. You'll have to be there in
Yeah,
10 seconds.
I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it. But if you have joined the show late, I know there's a lot of people that have joined the show late, like Phil and people like that. Natalie Davis, that's the first time I've seen your name. So if you have joined the show late, obviously when I end the broadcast, give it a couple of minutes, refresh the screen. You can watch it back at the start. And if you are one of the lads that's come in, or lasses that's come in and watched a bit of it, but thinks I'll listen to it when I'm going on my long drive to work tomorrow, don't worry. As soon as I end this now, I'll rip the audio out, stick it out as a podcast. So the podcast should be available within around half an hour, however long it takes Spotify and iTunes and Google to do what they do and stick it on their platforms. But lads, once again, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Really, really do appreciate it. Nathan, you've just got a new follower. Phil Wilcock has said he has followed you. So there you go.
Cheers,
it's
Phil.
always good. Yeah, it's always good. If you're setting up a Burnley podcast, come on TurfCast for a bit and I'll help you out. But yeah, thank you lads for coming on. I'll be in touch about any future shows. It's been a pleasure, been a great chat. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everybody for commenting. Thank you to all your listeners. And I will be doing a pre-game show for the Millwall game. It's just when I do it, it might be tonight. I'm not sure. It'll probably be tomorrow. I need to speak to a Millwall fan, to be honest. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, listening and commenting.